The Last Stand. The Chronaxian warship Eternal Victory burned as it plummeted through Earth's atmosphere. Commander Vexera clutched her command chair, silver scales gleaming under the emergency lights as alarms screamed through the bridge. 3 days of running battles with the human fleet had reduced her proud vessel to a wounded animal, limping toward its final resting place. Impact in 40 seconds, the ship's AI announced with impossible calm. Survival probability: 17%. Vexera's inner eyelids flickered as she assessed what remained of her bridge crew, dead or dying, every one of them. The humans had fought with unexpected ferocity, their supposedly primitive ships displaying tactics and technology that had shattered everything she thought she knew about their species. "Preserve ship's logs," she commanded, voice steady despite the growing heat. "Priority transmission to High Command. Humans are not as reported. Exercise extreme." The impact threw her against her restraints. Metal screamed. The deck buckled. Darkness claimed her. She awoke to the scent of burning circuits and the taste of copper in her mouth. The bridge was now a tomb of twisted metal, filtered sunlight streaming through rents in the hull. Her body ached, but a quick assessment confirmed no major injuries. The same couldn't be said for her crew. A sound caught her attention. Movement from outside. Human voices. She drew her sidearm, checking the charge. 1 shot left. Enough to ensure she wouldn't be taken alive. As per protocol, the Chronaxian Empire had ruled 1,000 worlds through fear and strength. She wouldn't give the humans the satisfaction of parading a captured commander before their media. Footsteps approached. Vexera raised her weapon, ready to meet her end with dignity. A figure appeared in the jagged entrance, human, female, wearing the markings of their space force, captain's insignia. Their eyes met. The human's weapon was already drawn, but, surprisingly, not aimed. "I'm Captain Sarah Chen, Earth Defense Force. Are you able to stand?" Vexera's translator rendered the words perfectly, but their meaning made no sense. "Why haven't you shot me?" "Because I'm hoping we can talk instead." Chen holstered her weapon. A gesture that went against everything Vexera had been taught about humans. "Your ship's trajectory suggests you were trying to avoid populated areas during your crash. That tells me something about your character. I fail to see how minimizing civilian casualties changes our situation, human. We are enemies." "Are we?" Chen took a step forward, hands visible. "Because from where I stand, we're 2 soldiers following orders in a war neither of us seems to fully understand, and I've seen enough death for 1 day." Vexera's arm trembled, finger on the trigger. Everything in her training screamed to end it, to deny the humans their prize. But something in Chen's eyes, something she'd never expected to see in a supposed savage, made her hesitate. "The runner we captured last week," Chen continued, "had some interesting data in its computers. Data suggesting your people might have been fed some incorrect information about Earth, just as we might have been fed some incorrect information about the Chronaxian Empire." The weapon grew heavier in Vexera's grip. "What kind of information?" "The kind that makes me think this entire war might be based on a lie. But we can't prove it without help from someone high-ranking enough in your military to access certain restricted files." Chen's gaze was steady. "Someone like a ship commander." Vexera's mind raced. There had been inconsistencies in their intelligence about Earth, questions she'd been ordered not to pursue. The humans' level of technology alone suggested their briefings had been wrong. And if they were wrong about that, "If you're lying," Vexera said slowly, "you'll still have to kill me. If I'm lying, you'll still have your sidearm." Chen extended her hand. "But I don't think I am. And I think you've seen enough to at least wonder if I might be right." For a long moment, the only sound was the settling of cooling metal and the distant cry of Earth birds. Then, slowly, Vexera lowered her weapon. Understanding the enemy. The underground bunker hummed with ancient machinery as Captain Chen spread the data folds across the holographic display. Commander Vexera stood beside her, silver scales reflecting the blue glow of Earth technology that by all official Chronaxian records shouldn't exist. These are the transmission patterns we intercepted, Chen explained, gesturing to the complex web of light, all encrypted with Chronaxian military codes, but none of them originating from Chronaxian space. Vexera's inner eyelids flickered rapidly, a sign of deep concentration that Chen was learning to recognize. These patterns, they match our high command protocols, but the source signatures are wrong. They're too perfect. Too perfect. Military transmissions have characteristic imperfections: radiation interference, compression artifacts, quantum decay. Vexera's clawed hand traced a pattern in the air. These have none. As if they were generated artificially, Chen finished. By someone who knew the protocols but didn't actually use your communication systems. A distant rumble shook dust from the ceiling. Above them, the war continued, despite their discovery. Despite the growing evidence that both sides had been manipulated into conflict by an unseen hand. Your people's resistance to our initial attacks, Vexera said slowly. It wasn't just tactical skill, was it? You were prepared. You knew we were coming. Chen nodded. 6 months before your first strike, we detected anomalous signals. Someone was broadcasting detailed information about Earth's defenses, our military capabilities, our weaknesses, but all of it was wrong. Deliberately wrong. When your ships arrived, they were flying into a trap based on false intelligence. Just as we were fed false information about Earth being a primitive, violent culture that needed to be conquered for the greater good of the galaxy. Vexera's tail lashed in agitation. The question is, who benefits from this war? Before Chen could respond, the bunker's perimeter alarms screamed to life. Red emergency lights pulsed as security screens activated, showing multiple contacts approaching from the north. Chronaxian strike team, Vexera said, examining the signatures. Heavy weapons, they're hunting me. Chen's hand went to her sidearm. My people are 4 hours out. We're on our own. They'll have quantum trackers. They can detect Chronaxian life signs through any shielding you have. Vexera's expression hardened. You should leave. This isn't your fight. Like hell it isn't. Chen was already moving to the weapons locker. This bunker contains evidence that could end the war. Evidence we found together. I'm not letting them destroy it. You would fight beside me. Against my own people. I'm fighting beside someone who wants the truth. That makes us allies. Chen tossed a pulse rifle to Vexera. Unless you'd rather surrender. The Chronaxian commander caught the weapon with practiced ease, a gesture that would have been unthinkable just days ago. Surrendering was never my strength. She checked the weapon's charge. But you should know, if we survive this, there's no going back. For either of us. Going back to what? A war based on lies. Chen activated the bunker's defense grid. I'd rather move forward. They worked quickly, setting up crossfire positions and deploying the bunker's automated defenses. Years of combat experience flowed between them in an unspoken language of tactical understanding. Human and Chronaxian, predator and prey, now united against a common threat. The first explosion rocked the outer doors. Armor-piercing rounds began to punch through the reinforced walls. Chen glanced at her unlikely ally and saw not an alien enemy, but a soldier like herself, someone who had chosen truth over comfortable lies. They'll breach in 3 positions, Vexera said, her warriors' training evident in every movement. Standard Chronaxian assault pattern. They're not expecting resistance from their own commander. Then let's surprise them. Chen activated her tactical visor. You know what this means, don't you? Someone knew you survived the crash. Someone knows we're working together. Someone is afraid of what we might discover. Vexera's scales rippled with anticipation, which means we're on the right track. The bunker's inner doors began to glow red as cutting beams worked their way through. Chen took up her position, mind already racing through scenarios and counterattacks. Any regrets about not taking that shot at me when we first met? For the first time since they'd met, Vexera's face showed something close to a smile. Ask me again when this is over. The doors exploded inward in a shower of molten metal. Shadow figures charged through the breach, weapons blazing. Chen and Vexera moved as one, their combined fire cutting through the smoke. Human and Chronaxian technology merged into a deadly symphony of resistance. As they fought side by side, Chen couldn't help but wonder, if two soldiers from opposite sides could find common ground, could their entire species do the same? The answer might lie in the data they were defending, in the truth they were fighting to uncover. But first, they had to survive. A massive armored form emerged from the smoke, bearing weapons that made Chen's blood run cold. She recognized the design from classified briefings. A Chronaxian devastator, elite shock troops used only in the most critical operations. "They really want us dead," she muttered, taking aim. "They want the truth dead," Vexera corrected, her voice carrying over the chaos of battle. Unfortunately for them, the truth has decided to fight back. Together, they faced the onslaught. Two warriors united by circumstance, but fighting for something larger than themselves. The battle for the bunker was more than just a skirmish. It was the first test of whether their species could truly work together. The hidden truth. Blood dripped from Chen's shoulder as she worked to decrypt the Devastator's neural core. The battle for the bunker had left them both wounded but alive, and more importantly, with a prize that neither of them had expected. The elite warrior's armor contained a quantum database far more sophisticated than standard Chronaxian military gear. "His authorization codes are active," Vexera said, examining the holographic readouts with her good arm. The other hung limply at her side, scales charred from a near miss with a plasma bolt. "This makes no sense. Devastator units answer directly to High Command. They shouldn't be operating on Earth without my knowledge. Unless High Command isn't really in command anymore." Chen's fingers danced across the interface, applying decryption algorithms that shouldn't exist outside of Earth's most secure facilities. "There, look at this." The holographic display erupted with data, transmission logs, deployment orders, and most importantly, star charts that made Vexera's inner eyelids snap wide with shock. "Impossible," she whispered. "These coordinates, they're from the dead zone." "The dead zone?" "A region of space our people have avoided for 10,000 years. Our oldest legends speak of it as a place of doom, where an ancient evil once tried to destroy all sapient life." Vexera's voice took on an edge Chen had never heard before. "But they're just stories. Myths to frighten children. Myths don't send kill teams equipped with quantum-locked databases." Chen pulled up another set of data streams. "Look at these transmission patterns again. The ones that fed both our people's false intelligence about each other. They all originate from the same region." Vexera leaned closer, her scales shifting color slightly, a sign of deep distress that Chen was learning to recognize. "These signal patterns, they match fragments of code found in our most ancient ruins. Code we could never decrypt." "The same ruins that gave your people faster than light travel?" Chen asked, remembering their earlier conversations about Chronaxian technological development. "Yes, we always assumed they were left by our ancestors, but..." Vexera's tail lashed in agitation. "What if we were wrong? What if something out there wanted us to find them? Wanted us to develop in a specific way?" A chill ran down Chen's spine as she pulled up Earth's own historical database on her tactical display. 60 years ago, we discovered similar ruins on Mars. Ancient structures containing technological blueprints that accelerated our development by centuries. We thought it was luck. It wasn't luck. Vexera's claws tapped against the console. "Someone has been guiding both our species, pushing us toward this conflict. The question is, why?" Before Chen could respond, a new data stream burst through their decryption filters. Three-dimensional star maps blazed to life around them, showing the movements of both human and Chronaxian fleets over the past decade. But there was something else. Ghost signatures at the edges of every major battle, watching, recording. "They've been studying us," Chen realized. "Studying how we fight, how we think, how we kill. Not just studying. Vexera highlighted a series of patterns that made Chen's blood run cold. Look at the casualty reports from every major engagement. The losses on both sides are almost perfectly balanced. As if someone is conducting an experiment, Chen finished, testing both our species to see how we handle prolonged conflict, how we adapt, how we evolve. A distant explosion rocked the bunker, sending cascades of dust from the ceiling. The backup generators kicked in as main power fluctuated. More company coming, Chen said, checking the perimeter sensors. Bigger this time. They really don't want this information getting out. Then we make sure it does. Vexera's scales had shifted to a deeper silver, her battle color. Your quantum transmitter, can it reach both Earth High Command and a Chronaxian fleet? If we boost it with your ship's remaining power cord, yes. Chen was already calculating the energy requirements. But that's going to light us up like a beacon for everyone in the system. Good. Vexera's expression was fierce. Let them come, because I think I know what's out there in the dead zone, watching us. And if I'm right, this war isn't just about our two species anymore. It's about the survival of all sapient life in the galaxy. Chen met her ally's gaze, seeing the same determination she felt. The transmission will take 3 minutes to compile and send. Think we can hold them that long? 3 minutes against impossible odds to save both our species. Vexera checked her weapons charge. Humans aren't the only ones who can be stubborn, Captain. Together, they began fortifying their position, human and Chronaxian technology, merging into makeshift defenses. As they worked, Chen couldn't help but smile at the irony. Two mortal enemies, now standing together against a threat that had manipulated their peoples for thousands of years. You know, she said, setting the last charge, if we survive this, we're either going to be heroes or traitors. We'll be both, Vexera replied. The question is, to whom? The bunker's sensors screamed as multiple hostile signatures appeared on all sides. Whatever was coming for them, it wanted to ensure the truth stayed buried. But as Chen looked at her unlikely companion, she knew they had already won the most important battle, the one against hatred and fear. Alliance forged in fire. The quantum transmission had reached both fleets just as the bunker's defenses finally collapsed. Now, 3 days later, Chen and Vexera stood on the bridge of the Earth Defense Force flagship Intrepid, watching as ships from both sides gathered in high orbit, not to fight, but to listen. They're coming, Vexera said, her scales shimmering with tension as she studied the long-range sensors, multiple signatures emerging from the dead zone, energy readings unlike anything in our databases. Admiral Harrison, a stern-faced woman with 4 decades of service etched into her features, nodded gravely. The Chronaxian High Command confirms similar readings on their side. Whatever these things are, they're done hiding. The evidence Chen and Vexera had transmitted had shaken both civilizations to their core. Proof of ancient manipulation, of carefully orchestrated conflict, of an unseen force pushing two species toward mutual destruction. But perhaps most disturbing were the fragments of data suggesting why. The ancient records were clear, Vexera said, addressing the assembled human and Chronaxian commanders on both sides of the neural link. These entities, the architects, as our ancestors called them, they seed worlds with sentient life, guide their development through carefully placed technological artifacts, then engineer conflicts to study their combat evolution. And once they've learned everything they can about how we fight, Chen continued, they harvest both species for their martial knowledge, adding our unique capabilities to their own. A galaxy-spanning experiment in warfare, Harrison muttered, with us as the lab rats. The tactical display suddenly blazed with new contacts. Massive ships were emerging from fold space, their designs organic and utterly alien. They'd moved with impossible grace, their hull configurations shifting and changing like liquid metal. Multiple hostile signatures, the Intrepid's AI announced. Energy readings suggest weapons systems powering up. They're preparing to engage. They know we've discovered their game, Vexera said, her warriors' training evident in every movement. They'll try to harvest both our fleets now, before we can organize an effective defense. Harrison's expression hardened. Well, they're about to learn that humans and Chronaxians don't appreciate being manipulated. She opened a channel to all ships, all vessels. This is Admiral Harrison. As of this moment, I am accepting tactical command coordination with Chronaxian High Command. We fight as one fleet. The Architect vessels struck first, launching waves of crystalline fighters that sparkled like deadly jewels in Earth's sunlight. But where they expected to find two disorganized forces still hostile to each other, they found something else entirely. Human and Chronaxian ships moved in perfect concert. Decades of fighting each other transformed into an intimate knowledge of each other's capabilities. Earth's electronic warfare suites merged seamlessly with Chronaxian quantum targeting systems. Where one fleet's defenses showed weakness, the other provided strength. They're adapting, Chen reported, watching the tactical display. Their ships are already incorporating elements of both our combat styles. Then we show them something they've never seen before, Vexera replied. Something they couldn't predict. She turned to Harrison. Admiral, request permission to implement Protocol Omega. Harrison's eyes widened slightly. The experimental merge tech. It's never been tested in combat, because it was designed to fight Chronaxians, Chen said, understanding dawning. But if we merge it with Vexera's quantum synchronization. Do it, Harrison ordered. All ships, prepare for synchronized consciousness integration. What followed was unlike anything either species had ever attempted. Through the neural networks, human intuition and creativity merged with Chronaxian tactical precision. Ships moved as one, their crews linked in a dance of cooperation that transcended species barriers. The Architect's vessels faltered, their adaptive algorithms struggling to counter strategies that evolved faster than they could analyze. For the first time in their ancient existence, they faced something their experiments hadn't prepared them for. Two species working as one, combining their strengths instead of exploiting each other's weaknesses. But victory wouldn't come easily. The Architects had millennia of harvested knowledge to draw upon. Their ships began to spawn new configurations, each deadlier than the last. The combined fleet suffered heavy losses, each destroyed vessel a reminder of the cost of freedom. They're targeting the neural link nodes, Chen reported as another explosion lit up the tactical display. They've realized it's what makes our cooperation possible. Then we give them a closer look, Vexera said, her scales gleaming with determination. Captain, are you thinking what I'm thinking? Chen smiled grimly. Crazy enough to work, impossible enough to catch them off guard. Always. Harrison looked between them. Whatever you're planning, make it count. We won't get another chance at this. The battle raged on, a desperate struggle for survival against beings that had manipulated countless species to their doom. But in their arrogance, the Architects had made one crucial mistake. They had pushed two peoples together who, once they overcame their manufactured hatred, were stronger united than they ever were apart. And as Chen and Vexera prepared to implement their desperate plan, one truth became crystal clear. The Architects were about to learn that their greatest experiment had become their greatest miscalculation. A new dawn. This is either brilliance or madness, Admiral Harrison said, watching as Chen and Vexera made final preparations aboard the captured Devastator ship. The ancient warrior's armor had been modified, its quantum core now linked to both human and Chronaxian command networks. The two often coincide, Chen replied, checking the neural interface connections. The Architects have spent millennia studying how we fight, but they've never seen how we can work together. Vexera's scales rippled with anticipation as she integrated her consciousness with the ship's systems. Their entire strategy depends on analyzing and adapting to known combat patterns, so we give them something unprecedented. The plan was audacious to the point of insanity. Using the Devastator's unique quantum signature, they would penetrate the Architect's command network, not to destroy it, but to show them something their vast intelligence had never considered. The true potential of cooperation between species. All ships in position. Harrison reported. The combined fleet is ready for Phase 1. Chen took her position beside Vexara, their neural links synchronizing through the modified Devastator systems. The sensation was unlike anything either had experienced, human intuition and creativity flowing seamlessly into Chronaxian tactical precision and spatial awareness. Remember, Vexara said softly, once we're linked to their network, we'll have seconds before their defenses adapt. Make them count. The battle around them had reached a fever pitch. Human and Chronaxian ships moved as one, their coordinated attacks keeping the Architect's vessels occupied. But it was a holding action at best. Already, the ancient entities were analyzing their combined tactics, developing countermeasures. Neural synchronization at maximum, Chen reported, ready to initiate quantum breach. Harrison's voice came through the comm, tight with tension. All ships, execute Operation Unity. Give them hell. The next few moments were chaos incarnate. The combined fleet launched a massive coordinated strike, focusing all their firepower on a single point in the Architect's formation. Not to destroy, but to create an opening. A momentary weakness in their quantum defensive grid. Chen and Vexara struck in that instant of vulnerability. The Devastator systems, enhanced by their merged consciousness, pierced the alien network like a needle through silk. For a fraction of a second, they were connected to the vast intelligence that had manipulated their species for thousands of years. What the Architects found there changed everything. Through Chen and Vexara's linked minds, they experienced something their eons of observation had never shown them. The moment when two supposed enemies chose to trust each other. They felt the genuine connection that had formed between human and Chronaxian, not through force or manipulation, but through understanding and choice. The Architect's ships froze in space, their adaptive algorithms encountering an anomaly they couldn't process. Their entire existence had been built around the premise that different species, when pushed to conflict, would always seek to dominate or destroy each other. The idea of genuine cooperation, of strength through voluntary unity, was utterly foreign to their ancient consciousness. Their network is destabilizing, Chen reported, her mind still merged with Vexara's through the quantum link. They're trying to analyze what we showed them, but they can't reconcile it with their basic assumptions. Because they've never understood the one thing they couldn't engineer, Vexara replied. True empathy. Real trust. The choice to see beyond differences. The Architect's mighty fleet began to withdraw, their ships moving with an almost hesitant grace, not in defeat, but in something closer to confusion, or perhaps revelation. They had come expecting to harvest the fruits of their latest experiment in conflict. Instead, they had encountered something that challenged the very foundation of their ancient purpose. As the last alien vessel disappeared into fold space, a transmission rippled through both human and Chronaxian communications networks. It wasn't in any known language, but somehow, every being who received it understood its meaning. We must reconsider. The bridge of the Intrepid erupted in cheers as the sensor screens confirmed the Architect's departure. But Chen and Vexara remained linked through the quantum interface, sharing something deeper than victory. They'll be back, Vexara said, her thoughts flowing seamlessly into Chen's consciousness, once they've processed what they learned here. And we'll be ready, Chen replied. Not as separate species, but as allies. Partners. Admiral Harrison approached them as technicians began disconnecting the neural interfaces. The Chronaxian High Command is requesting a formal conference to discuss terms of alliance. It seems we have a lot to learn from each other. We already have, Chen said, looking at Vexara. Sometimes the greatest victory isn't defeating your enemy. It's realizing they never had to be your enemy at all. As the Earth's sun rose over the horizon, casting golden light across the assembled fleet of two formerly hostile species, a new chapter in both their histories began. The Architects had sought to study the evolution of warfare, but instead had witnessed the evolution of understanding. And in orbit above a blue planet that had nearly become another battlefield, human and Chronaxian ships flew side by side, their crews no longer divided by manufactured hatred, but united in the knowledge that they had overcome not just an ancient enemy, but their own prejudices. The war that was meant to destroy them had instead forged something unprecedented, a partnership that would reshape the galaxy's future, not through force or dominance, but through the simple, profound power of choosing to trust, to understand, and to grow together. The dawn of a new age had begun.